Let me explain it this way. Look at verse 4. Let's try to get the closest Hebrew translation as possible. And I've looked at a half a dozen books that I do own, and I've come as close as I can get it. And so in verse 4, it's talking about the place of gloom. That's actually the closest translation we can come to. The valley of the shadow of death is the place of gloom. Well, what does that mean? That just simply means that when you look at verse 4 and when you look at I've got valleys up here. When you look at this word valley in verse 4, it means more than just death. It means this. It can be the most terrifying experience of your life. It could be the hardest thing that you ever go through. It could be the most difficult thing that you could ever go through. It could be the saddest thing that you could ever go through. This is exactly what this is referring to, the valley of the shadow of death. In fact, if you look at the background of verse 4, David is pulling from a geographical place in the Holy Land. There was a valley leading from one place to another place that all the shepherds had to take their sheep. And to go through this valley, they referred to it as the valley of the shadow of death because the pathway was so narrow. It was so terrifying to many, many shepherds to have to lead their sheep through this valley, because many times the sheep would stumble and fall or slip and fall and would fall to their death. And so this is how it got its name, the valley of the shadow of death. So David in verse 4 is pulling from this geographical place that everybody knew about in the Holy Land. And David is saying this. He says, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil." He's only using that as a backdrop to talk about the hard and difficult places that we all have to walk through sometime. This verse in verse 4 is teaching about the valleys of life and how to handle them. In order to do that, I want to share with you 5 facts about valleys. There's more, but I've come up with 5 of them. There's 5 facts about valleys. Now, before I get started, I'm always aware, anytime I do this, that there could be someone here today that's in a valley. Teddy, I'm so glad I came. I'm in a valley today. I've been sick, or I've been down, or we've got this problem, we've got that problem. Teddy, these past 2 or 3 months have been, it's been pretty rough. And here I am in church. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful that you're talking about valleys. I'm always aware, very much aware, that there may be someone that's dealing with going through the valley. So my goal, my heart's desire is for you to be encouraged. Let's start with fact number 1 about valleys. Here it is. Valleys are inevitable. Valleys are inevitable. In other words, they're going to happen. They're going to happen. What are the 2 things that you can depend on in life? Death and taxes. That's it. I mean, it's going to happen. It's coming. And so we have to understand that valleys are a part of normal life. Now, I know what you're saying. You're saying, yeah, but I don't want it to happen to me. I really don't want it to happen to my family. I understand, Teddy. I understand what you're talking about, but I really, really rather it not happen to me. Well, we all feel that way, don't we? I don't want to go through no valley. I don't think I'm in a valley today. I've been there, done that. I don't look forward to it. I know it's going to happen again. If I live long enough, it's going to happen again. And for those of us that have gone through the valley before, you don't just go through it one time and that's it. You're going to go through it again and again and again and again. That's just life. That's the way it is. Well, what do? Well, I think the most important thing that we need to do, to start off with, is to not be surprised and don't be shocked the way that we are at times like this. I cannot believe this is happening to me. I cannot believe this is happening at this time in my life. Of all times, this time. We shouldn't be surprised. We shouldn't be shocked. Jesus said in John, and I quote, "In this world you will have trouble." And if you live long enough in this world, you're going to have trouble. The Teddys and the Charlottes and the Ronnie Marshalls and all of us, you're going to have trouble. It's just going to happen. It's inevitable. So number one, the fact that you need to know to start off with, valleys are inevitable. Fact number two, valleys are unpredictable. Hear what I'm saying? You cannot be ready and prepared for it. You can't be. Now, I know, and I've been down this road a little bit too. I know that there are certain things that you see coming. You see it coming. You know it's coming. You know, you say to one, this is going to happen. I know this is going to happen. I see it coming. And you can prepare for it. Maybe financially or some other way, you prepare for it and get ready for it. There are times that you can do that, but they are rare. Most of the times the valley that comes to you and to me are the ones that you can't prepare for. You can't be ready for it. It's going to blindside you. That is one of the worst feelings in the world. For those of us that have had a wreck, someone hits us, blindsides us, comes out of the blue. We're sitting at the red light. We're having a good day. And boom, this happens. You cannot be ready and prepared for these valleys. It is sudden. It can be a sudden sickness, a sudden problem, a sudden, God forbid, but a sudden disaster that can be sudden. Jeremiah chapter 4 says, "In an instant my tents are destroyed." Yes, sir, in an instant. You remember the storm that Jesus went out to the boat, the disciples? Did you know that it was a clear blue sky before all that happened? And that storm came out of the blue, so to speak. We talk about that sometimes. Out of the blue, it hit me right out of the blue. That's the way it happens. Storms can come and hit you out of the blue. So the second thing that you need to realize about valleys will be that they're unpredictable. Look at fact number 3. Valleys are impartial. They're impartial. In other words, no one is insulated from pain and sorrow. No one. And I've had my share. And I know you have too. And just because I'm a preacher, that doesn't mean that I'm insulated from it. You see, no one gets to skate through life problem-free. No one. We tend to think sometimes, well, you know what, so-and-so is so-and-so. I don't believe they ever have any problems. I just don't believe they don't seem like they ever have any problems. Everything seems to be perfect for them. And it aggravates you a little bit when you see people like that and you think, I just don't understand that. I don't understand that. Think again. I can assure you that they have and that they are. I have a pastor friend right now in Mobile. He is the dearest preacher friend that I have, bar none. He's a little bit older now. And growing up in the ministry and watching him be successful, I always thought Mac never had any problems. Never. I mean, he was one of the most successful preachers I'd ever seen in my life. It's like everything he touched, it just turned to gold. Perfect family, perfect church, perfect marriage, perfect. It even got to the point where I did not enjoy being around Mac because I just felt like he was just better than me. Isn't that awful? He's a dear friend. One day that changed. On our annual trip to Mobile, we sat out one night and Mac began to cry and began to share about some things that he had bottled up for a long, long time. And when I went to bed that night, I thought to myself, my soul, he has problems too. So when you look at somebody and you think, there's no way that they could have trouble or problems, you think again. Because I'm telling you the truth, valleys are impartial. It doesn't matter who we are, what we are, how much we go to church, how spiritual we are. Jesus said in Matthew, he sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. Remember that. Fact number 4, valleys are temporary. Valleys are temporary. You see, a valley is something you go through. Isn't that right? Here's a valley. You're in a valley. You're going through it. There's another side to the valley. There's front, back, front. Doesn't matter how you look at it. A valley is something that we go through. 1 Peter says, now for a little while you may have grief and trials. Just for a little while. So here's the truth today, folks. There's times that life can be tough. You know that. Some of you are going through it right now. There's times life can be tough, but it's not going to last. What does it say in Psalms? Oh, this is one of my favorite verses. Weeping may endure through the night, but joy cometh in the morning. Isn't that beautiful? Weeping may endure through the night, but joy cometh in the morning. That sickness can be temporary. That problem can be temporary. That hard time can be temporary. You're going through a valley. You're going through it. That makes sense. So for those of you that are going through a valley, you will get through the valley at some point. That's a fact. And I'll close with the last fact. Fact number 5. Valleys, and I don't like this. This is I wish we could learn it some other way. Here it is. Valleys are purposeful. Valleys are purposeful. It's a lot easier to be on this side and somebody else is over here going through a valley. You know, they're going through a valley. You're over here and you say, but there's a reason. It's easy. There's a reason for this. God bless you. I'll be praying for you. There is a reason. Well, you know what? That's true. Valleys are purposeful. There's a purpose. You say, what can be a purpose in this bad or this bad or I don't know. But I do know this, that God is bigger than any problem you ever have. God is bigger than any sad moment in your life. God is bigger and stronger to take anything and everything bad that happens to you or to me and turn it into a purpose. Yes, sir. It says in 1 Peter, these trials have come that your faith may be proven real. You know, valleys, this is where God builds your faith. I don't like that. You understand me? I'd rather have my faith built some other way. Lord, is there any other way besides the valley? Well, get this. Your faith cannot be built on mountaintops. You know what a mountaintop is. That's when everything's going your way. Everything's going your way. It's when you're in a valley, and you know what a valley will do to you? It'll drive you to your knees. I heard someone say one time, you know what? It's been a long time that I've gotten on my knees to pray. But I tell you what, since this has happened to me, I have been on my knees. It'll do it. It'll do it every time. In verse 4, Psalms 23 says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Why? Why? For thou art with me. Now here is an incredible spiritual truth. The presence of God can be stronger with you and for you in the valley than probably any other place in your whole life. I've had people to say to me, Teddy, when I was going through what I went through, I felt God's presence like I have never felt it before. For those of you that may be in a valley, you take these 5 facts and apply it to your life today. Our Father, we thank you for your presence. We thank you for our children, our parents and grandparents, all that they do. Thank you for the children here at Calvary. Thank you for the privilege it is to serve you here at Calvary. Thank you for this past week. God, you've been so good to this church, and we want to give you all the credit and all the glory. I do pray for that one here today that may be going through a valley, and they're right in the middle. They see no way out. When is it going to end? When is this going to be over? Oh God, take this message and minister to that person. Help them to see that even by the very fact that they're here today, that there was a reason for them to hear what they have heard, that you're paying attention to them, that you love them. You're going to see them through and get all the glory. In Jesus' name, amen.